Everything's gone to the pooper. We were in the forest, and only the fluffiest can survive. This isn't a world for the weak. If you want to rule, you have to be the gosh darndest, cutest, and deadliest. That's all we know. That's all we have. Only taking root. Take on the mantle of a fluffy woodland animal faction and play with 1 to 6 players to rule the forest kingdom in the ultimate asymmetric game by fighting every other poop hole animal and be the first to 40 points. And it won't be easy. Root comes with lots of doohickeys and whatchamacallits. And 80 screen pretty animal wedding warriors you've been darn tootin' for. Time to decide, are you gonna control the forest or let other animals poop you out? Choose now and take root.
I think I remembered to unmute. We'll find out very, very shortly here, but I do believe we are unmuted, which would be a nice change of pace for the beginning of one of my streams.
Looks like we're good.
All right, awesome. Hey, Winston.
Hey, what's up?
We've been talking for the last 20 minutes, so this is totally
That's right.
fake. Hey, how you doing? But
Doing good.
what are we drinking tonight?
So we are drinking Negronis. My Negroni is a coffee Negroni. So it's a slight twist on the Negroni concept because I wanted to try it. I made it for Lauren the other day and she liked it. So it's a Negroni, but I have like a coffee liqueur that's like a vodka-based coffee liqueur that's in there. That's it. That's the only difference.
Does it replace or add to what was already in the basic?
It adds 2, and then I guess the other difference is that you kind of like spritz some lemon oil across the top.
Oh, okay.
Which is kind of do with the coffee drink sometimes. It's good. I like it. It's very coffee flavored.
Sounds awesome. Does it have
like a bitter coffee?
Caffeine in it too?
Yeah, the coffee I use is Mr. Black. This is an advertisement for liquor basically, but I use a coffee liqueur from Australia named Mr. Black, and it's like a kind of a less sweet thing. It's not like Kahlua or anything like that. It's cold brew, and then they just put vodka in it. So
sounds all right to me.
It's really good.
Well, I am drinking a basic Negroni. For those who don't know, that is a 1-to-1-to-1 ratio, according to the liquor.com, of Campari, gin, and sweet vermouth. And it's my first time having it, and I gotta say, it is damn fine cocktail. I'm enjoying it.
I thought you might like it because it's got a little bit of that kind of like bitter tinge to it. It's not a super sweet drink, you know.
It's interesting what the vermouth does, sweet vermouth does to the gin. I have never. Like the Campari even smells like gin to me a little bit. Um,
Yeah,
so
crazy that.
like I think it's just a nice complementary flavor, but the sweet vermouth really takes it to a different place. If you like a Manhattan, you'll probably like this.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah.
Um, anyway, all right. Now we've talked about booze, but what we're going to talk about for the rest of our time is building Navyshla. Winston is joining the online campaign, which we have going on in the northeast section of Navyshla. Now we've built up quite a bit the southwest of Navyshla, where my table game is happening, and we had our first adventure there. Pleased to say it was perilous, but they are also first level, so that's not hard. Um, by perilous, I didn't even knock anybody out, but I was killing so many commoners around them that there was a feeling of dread, I think. which little kid's gonna get killed next? Which guard standing next to
Ooh.
them in the darkness is not there when they look around next? It was fun. I made swarm animals with the powers of a shadow. So they swarmed out, and then they could strength drain.
Oh my gosh, that's evil.
It was fun. It was a lot of fun. They're called blood flies or discanthe.
I love that. Blood flies in general, it's a really creepy creature type, just at all. Like I know it's not necessarily I know it's a homebrew creature, but just
Right.
in like myth and story and everything
Yep.
in real life.
Uh, I wrote even a little like nursery school rhyme about them that kids would sing at each other as a curse, and so I had them singing it before they descended on the town. It was awesome. It was fun. Okay, tonight though, all right, I'm gonna change screens on us here, and so the hard thing with this, Winston, is like you have to look at the maps on Twitch. They don't have a great way
Gotcha.
of sharing the map with you so you see it and then I still stream it. I'm sure there's a way to do that if I were a thinker, but unfortunately, here we are. So,
No problem.
um, let's start off with the first thing. Tell me a little bit about what your character concept is.
Yeah, so I'll give you kind of the the broad concept and then we can dig in. So I'm playing a character. His name is Reichert.
Reichert. Okay.
Reichert. Yep.
Awesome.
I don't have a last name for him because I've been kind of toying with the idea of like how last names work in the culture he's in.
Nice. I like that.
But the basic concept with Reichert, he's a monk, and broad strokes is that he used to work for a merchant cartel, and it was one of the larger merchant groups, handles a lot of the trade in the region that he's from, and there is you know a lot of what is the term? Interstrife? That's not the term. There's a lot of strife between the various merchant groups, the merchant guilds.
Interfectional?
Yes,
I'm
I think
making
that's
a
what I was
word
looking
up.
for.
No, I'm making a word up.
Sounds good to me, anyways.
All right.
I've had 1.5 Negroni, so I'm good to go.
You're a half up on me.
Yeah. So, anyways, but he was a part of a group, and basically, what his job was, his role in this merchant cartel was kind of as a uh, kind of ran the dark jobs. He sort of not exactly a fixer. It was more of the type to, break into a warehouse, lift some information, maybe take out the appropriate people that needs to be taken out of the situation. Kind of like a under the radar, what works type guy, like however you want to phrase that. And his background is that he was, from a very large city. I'm blanking on the name. It's Ike's.
Ilix rough.
Ilix Rough. That's what it is. Okay. And we're going to build out that town more. So I don't want to like commit to anything. But the big concept is that in this city, there is a large emphasis on making something of yourself, becoming like larger than life. And in fact, That's there's sort of a pseudo religion in the city that people, more than they refer to the actual gods, they refer to past champions and heroes, people who made names themselves in the city, people that were famous for all kinds of different things, and they kind of like almost look at them like saints, like they, might refer to a hero who was an amazing builder that built the best building or did some kind of heroic thing as like a reference to him to like guide them as they're building their table in their backyard or whatever the heck, right? And so there's kind of like this religion of like this sort of like pseudo religion of like make a name for yourself. And so Riker grew up poor, wanted to make a name for himself, and I'll go into more details there. But the way that he did that was by using his natural sort of like skill set of he was very dexterous, very sneaky. He was good at stealing, and he turned that into this kind of like sort of kind of a dark, doing the dark jobs for this merchant. Unfortunately, his group that was doing a mission messed up in a way that the merchant realized that he needed to eliminate the team, and so he put the kill order in, a burn order for everyone that was in that little like cell, and thought that he had killed them all. Riker was one of them. Riker made it out alive, of course, since he's still alive in the story, and kind of had like this life changing moment to realize, you know what, this is kind of screwed up. What's going on, and how everything runs, and he thinks back about his life, and that's a pivot point for him to decide that actually he wants to help people fuck over the merchant cartels. And so he basically has refashioned himself as kind of like not a Robin Hood type, but like willing to join any team that's going to fuck over a merchant, basically.
Sort of revenge oriented, but also sort of like, um, hey Galaxian, welcome. Thanks for popping in. Shit, just
Hey.
stepping by. We're building a little more Navyshla. Uh, the sort of like I'm just like it's not an altruism because part of it's out of revenge.
Mm-hmm.
Also part of it's out of spite.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe, I don't know. I don't want to put emotions on your character that you haven't created yet, but it's not like you said, not Robin Hood. It's
Yeah.
it's fuck these guys.
It's fuck these guys. And I
Yeah.
mean, and that it feeds into it. And it's the sense of like, I'll give some backstory. So he was, he had a single father. His mother died young. I don't have any reason necessarily yet, but I was thinking probably some kind of an illness, a plague, something that would happen in a larger city in this sort of setting. Whatever makes the most sense. Father raised him. His father worked multiple jobs, and he saw how his dad kind of was ground under by the system. And his initial reaction to that as a kid was, I'm not going to just like plug into the system and work 2 and 3 jobs and try to like scrounge out some bread for my kid. I'm going to be a big shot. And so that was kind of his initial reaction in his youth. But then having lived the life doing the work, it wasn't like he was all happy with it. Like he realized I'm killing people and I'm doing all this shady shit. And yeah, I'm progressing, but at what cost? And then when you get sort of the kill switch, it's like this is the perfect opportunity to reflect back on that and be like, the lesson I learned from my dad's problems was not what I thought it was. It wasn't let me go become one of the people who like pushes down to the lower class. It's like let's fucking blow it up. So it's definitely revenge and spite keyed. It's not I'm a good guy and I should get a pat in the back. He definitely knows he's a bad guy, but um, but yeah, that's kind of a little bit of stuff swirled up in there.
I like it. I like it. So some of the things that some of the work of building Navyshla then around that will be that I can see, and you might have some of this already, and otherwise we'll build it out as we go tonight. Um, is going to need a couple more port cities other than Elixruff.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and just because they've got if there's a big enough port to have this sort of isolated, like independent city state thing,
Mm-hmm.
then they've got to have other people to trade with.
Exactly.
And then the other thing is if it's big enough for that, and there's corporate jealousy, cartel jealousy, then we need to come up with a couple of these corporations,
Right.
and where they might be. And that, I mean, plenty of map to work with here. Um, Plenty of ways to think about that. The first one, I think, what we need to fill out first and foremost is your cartel. Um,
Right.
so do when you think of these cartels, do you think of them as like conglomerates? Like they're not just like the textile cartel. They got their fingers in a lot of different.
Yeah. So I was thinking somewhere like a cross between. Yeah, I think conglomerate is probably the way to describe it. Like maybe a cartel that did their own shipping for their own like key sort of competency, so to speak, and then that became like over time grew into like, hey, we handle the shipping for everything because now shipping is one of our key competencies. So I think it's fine if there's like a flavoring to them. Like maybe a cartel could come out from the textiles, but now it's like, hey, we used our textile, money,
Right.
that dark textile money to then invest in like other situations. And and we don't need to get too complex with it, but like one of the things that I think would be cool is if there was like a political angle to the groups, that they're not just like mafia, like small time, like shaking down the local small. I mean, mafia's not necessarily small, but you know what I mean. Like shaking down like a sector or something, but more like they also can be people who fund military operations between countries and like have a little bit of extra sway in some things, and maybe they're not all that way, but like some of them.
Right. One of the things that I want to come up with out of this is like instead of conglomerate or cartel, or even like tying it to like a house, because I don't want to do that. That's been, this
Mhm.
aristocratic house, da da da. That's not necessarily what I think you're going for, because anybody can earn their way into these things. Anybody can do well and become a favored kind of ancestor of Elixirov.
Right.
Um, so instead of house or like, I want to come up with a term for what these are. They're like, maybe let's say there's, how many do you think there are on Navyshla? Not
So I
many,
mean,
right?
yeah, I was thinking in terms of like power broker types, like the ones that are actually out there like managing things. Like I was thinking a handful.
Yeah,
Maybe, and again, also from like a world building perspective, maybe there's only a handful that are notable, and that's the only ones we really
right,
worry about. I'm
right.
sure there's like small time groups that like
Are
I'm
working
sure there'd be
towards it.
like a fiefdom component where it's like, yeah, we let the you know you know the Breckenburg shippers, like, yeah, they have our protection, so they can ship out of this little shitty port city or whatever. There's probably some stuff like that, but I think as far as like just a handful of like major players that don't necessarily like openly fight, but there's always like trying to scoop each other on connections and shipping lanes and shipping rights and all these kinds of things. Like I was kind of imagining, this is like how perverted my brain is or corrupt my brain is. I was imagining like, what if instead of like a dock workers union, the dock workers were like owned by the corporation, like by the merchant group that was like running the shipping, and so like everyone was sort of paralyzed by the fact that like the actual supply chain is not unionized. It's more like the opposite, where it's like controlled by these groups. And so then you can think of it as like maybe every dock is like a hub for some kind of like power center, basically.
Okay, that's what that was. That was you're actually getting to the next thing I was going to ask is because there's a couple ways to organize this. We could say there's like 4 or 5 major organizations,
Hmm.
um, factions. I don't know what we want to call them yet, but um, you have the 4 or 5, and they could be one per major city, or all of them operate in all of the major port cities, which I think is more interesting. But
Yeah,
I,
I
I
think I
think
like that.
it's probably easier to organize the other way, but I think it's boring. So I think I like I like the idea of Ixelruff is like it's like the Delaware. Um, everybody sets up their LLC there because there's no tax on,
Yeah.
So
Yeah, because make it in your own way, man.
so let's say, feeling like for starters, let's start with 4.
Cool.
4, just because I think anything more, and we'll be doing that all night. We won't get anything anywhere else. And I
Yeah.
don't want to call them. I mean, family might be interesting, but don't want to say clan.
Well, so what if what if it's asymmetrical? Like, what if some are like family type
Okay.
and some are more like businessy, and maybe, I mean, they don't have to all be formed exactly the same way. It could be like, because the thing is, like, even if they all operate everywhere, there's probably still like an origin point, right? So like maybe Ixelroth is like one or two of the groups like made their prominence there, and then maybe there was like an overseas group in like, trying to look at the map, like what's the other big city in this region? Like, we
Well,
just
we could make another one up right now because I don't think any of the ones that we've named right now would be big enough.
got it.
So
Okay.
let's make a big city. And I think it has to be a port.
Mm-hmm.
I think it would be funny or interesting, not funny. Right.
Funny, interesting.
Put it kind of near where Chris Jones
Mm.
just started his one. Listen up.
See, that could be funny.
Yeah, well,
Funny, haha, depending.
I think we're going to put it on this island right here. I don't know if you can see where my cursor is because I don't know if I'm zoomed out or not. Hold on a second.
Yes, I can see. So the island of, that's actually the sea.
It's right
My
above
brain,
Swanwick Sea. Yep.
my brain interpreted the water as the islands, which makes no sense because it's blue. So I was like, the
Well,
sea is the island.
it's called an ink tone, is what it has some blue, but I
My
can.
brain refuses to read it that way. I'm just like, no, that's a big ass island in the middle. Like, no, it's not.
Well,
It's
it
a big
is
ass sea.
above. Oh yeah, right.
Okay, I'm at the maximize. Come on, brain, do it.
I,
Okay, I got it. My brain's made the conversion.
I'm going to try to center this a little better for you.
Nice.
There we go.
Ooh,
And
Mulder Court. Where is that?
Mulder Court is where Chris Jones's character is from originally, before he was kidnapped and became a gladiator.
Oh my god, it's amazing.
So, where he was taken to the Knuckle Buster pits in the Quill Field wastes.
That's so good.
So, you're going to, and I like to do this just to see if it works because it makes me laugh.
Random names?
Random names.
I love the random names. Let's do it.
All right, here we go. They often
Label.
are lame and suck, but let's see what happens.
Can you do like multiple?
Yeah, you can just keep going. Sabra.
Sabrafet.
That sounds like savoir faire.
Sabrafet.
So,
So that could be one of the families. It could be like really like.
I kind of like that. I like that a
that.
lot. Yeah. Actually, I want to keep the name even. First one, right out of the gate. All right.
And they could be, that could be one of the groups, and it could be the one that's like family based a little bit more. And again, it's a business. You got to hire non-family, of course. But
right. All right. There's one. So one of the 4. I'm calling them power brokers for now. Mercantile.
I like it.
Sab refer. All right, that's one. So, and you said family oriented.
I think that one would be the family oriented one. If we want to go that route,
that's fine.
Be a little asymmetrical, and so, and that could even be like a point of contention, like with the others. It's like, hey, you can't just rely on family. That's nepotism, dude.
Well,
you gotta hire for merit. And it's like, well, your merit sure seems to be biased a certain way. So, but
Schnikes.
We're just gonna introduce all kinds of business politics into this.
I love that. I think most of the people playing in this game will be okay with that.
Well, and I'm very comfortable. Like, I mean, like my concept is more like take it or leave it. This is the world that this kid grew up. He grew up in a world where there was like cutthroat. There was no there are no supports, and that was the world. And so he didn't get to make the world. He had to live in it and make himself.
Like it.
And now he's out for do what he can. So I like this. Is that savoir-faire? However we say that.
I think it's. I have this idea too. I wonder what you're thinking about. I'm thinking. Can you see where my cursor is right now? I think I might be too far. Oh, okay. I'm thinking about putting one here and making a canal through this wide isthmus.
Okay, I may not see the cursor. Oh no, I see it now. Yep.
Okay.
I like that. So they're kind of like almost like a Panama Canal kind of holder.
Right. But what I was thinking is what if the 4 major power brokers all are around the Swannock Sea, and they are expanding out past, and this one, whatever we create here, is the one it's kind of got this nice. I can go into the Swannock Sea, and then it's built a canal to go up and around, sort of like a Portugal maneuver, where they figured out the fastest way to get to the other side of the continent.
Yeah, and let's have the city built like on either side. I mean, obviously on either side of the canal. But have it be like something about that be the aspect of the city, like the two towers or the two.
Oh yeah, so it's really defensible from the they can.
Yeah, and it's like everything's kind of built around it, and it's like maybe even there's like two different sort of like slightly different cultures based on which side you grew up on.
I like it.
You could have like canal rats, could be like the urchins that live along the canal.
Nice. That is a fun, like even the I love doing this because we may never go there in this campaign, and yet it's there, and maybe the Ervocale folk in the table game will end up there, and all have already got a place, It's already been set up. All right, here comes the fun labeling. This one.
See what we get.
See what we get.
Label.
All right. Seen worse. Harris view. I don't know.
Harris view.
Now that I say it out loud, I don't love it as much.
Can you re-roll it?
Yeah.
Let's re-roll it.
Potter Shade. Nope, not doing any Harry Potter. No.
Potter Shade.
Willow City is just a snooze fest.
Willow City, that's just too on the nose.
Yeah.
Gold Wharf.
Keep
What's
it.
A wharf.
A wharf is a large. It's generally it's a naturally calm place where boats can. The wharf is like usually where the docks are.
So what if Gold Wharf? Because I like that name in a way, but because it's sort of simple but sort of interesting. Like it's kind of like Gold Cloak or something,
Yeah.
What if it's not there, but it's another spot?
All right.
So I feel like it's not right for that spot. You know what I mean?
Put that there for now. We'll add another thing here. Nope. That just sounds like it's gonna be in your
Brazen
your spell jammer.
Yeah.
Also
The
brazen.
That's a great name.
It's a great name for a ship.
Yeah, for real. I'm gonna name my next spell jammer ship the Brazen Star.
Silverthorn, I don't like.
Yeah. Coppercliff?
I don't hate it.
What you could do is you could make it kind of like cliff, like that might be too on the nose, but there could be cliffs like along the channel.
I think there will be, but even so, now I want to do that. Oop, and then Lava Wild. That's just this name generator thing was populated by kids learning how to do compound words. Uh,
Lava City.
that's right. Here's Blaze again.
Blaze Wood.
Swinberg. Okay, but Cliff Chasen, I like.
Yeah, I like it.
Not Cliff Chasen Plus. Sounds like
It's like they burned down the old Cliff
Chasen.
Chasen.
This
That's
one.
their mechanism. They put a plus sign instead of new Cliff Chasen.
Cliff Chasen Plus is the subscription service for Cliff Chase. With Plus, you get 24-hour support.
That's right. Oh God. Yeah, dedicated agent.
Yeah.
All right, Ron, I've slayed you. That was really good.
The coffee one?
Yeah, I wasn't sold in the first sip because I had this idea of a Negroni, but it was really strong.
I think we need to curve this one. Yeah, here's a nice opportunity for me to thank Winston who got me this Wonder Draft program.
Oh, did I?
Yeah, you got me this, and I love it.
Well, that's the least I could do, Paul. You DM'd so many games I've been in.
I do it for my own fun too, but this is amazing software. Highly recommend.
Yeah, it's so funny too because like I got you that and like kind of like was like you should try Dungeon Draft too. I didn't get that for you, but or I could, yeah. So then I was like I was using them a lot, and then I stopped using them like a year ago because I just got too much. I got too busy, and you became like a fucking pro at it. And you're like your maps, especially in Dungeon Draft, are so cool. I feel so like behind.
I think it's because
well, you're an artist, you have an advantage, but
there's a little bit of that, and I think it's just instead of drawing, I started doing that. And the more you do anything, the better you get at it. But
that's true.
But it just lets you do so many things.
I thought I saw Dusty back there.
Winston says hi. Okay. So we need one more city. We have Gold Wharf that we can just place somewhere.
I really like Gold Wharf for some reason. I know it's sort of a generic name, but like it conjures something for me.
Perfect. Then let's use it. And I'm thinking we need to have something on this side. Not too close to Ixelra. But I feel like they should all be ports because part of how they become powerful is they, got into shipping, I think, like you said.
Yeah. I think shipping, and then, I was thinking too, like it would be important that they would have a good like overland like distribution. It's getting really businessy, but like hey, look at that. That's some
Yay, thank you.
That's some vermouth.
That is some vermouth.
That's a big old bottle.
Yeah, she wasn't messing around.
Yeah, vermouth's interesting too, because like that one you can it can go bad if you're not careful. You gotta drink it. You gotta drink a lot.
Yeah, well, I'm not a hobbyist with alcohol consumption. I'm from Wisconsin.
I used to not drink very much until I started working at this job I'm at, and then my Lauren was like, "You need to learn to drink whiskey so you look more like a professional or something." I think that was the conversation. So she bought me a bottle of whiskey. It was like forced on me. I was like, "Okay," it was peer pressured into it.
Nice. And now here you are, teaching the roleplay give community how to make a Negroni.
That's right. Negroni's that's a nice drink. If you are not big on gin, there's an Americano, which is actually where it predates the Negroni. I know, and it's Campari, soda water, and vermouth.
I read it up on it, and I thought, man, America gets such a rap on both sides. We're either drunks or teetotalers, but we're you just like, oh, make it weak and add water. That's an Americano espresso, and Make it weekend water. That's an Americano Negroni.
That's true.
Meanwhile, some of the drunkest places on earth are in America.
Yeah, I mean, look at Wisconsin stats. Y'all
Yeah,
are
we're
powerful.
ridiculous. I live in the fourth drunkest city in America. That
That's amazing.
it's Fond du Lac. It's anyway, but I'm doing my part. So, all right. So we now have 4 cities, and I'm going to say all 4 of these are city states. 4 city states, and then they all have bases of operations with their major families. So would that
Yeah.
mean that Elixruff then is the name of? Okay, yeah, that could work. Sorry, I'm thinking as I go. So
Oh, okay.
like Elixruff then has basis of operations in Cliff Chase and Cyberfer, Gold Wharf. Got to add a little symbol there. I'm gonna have to change all these symbols later because these are wrong. Should all be words like that, but I will work on that later. Also, I have all of my fonts are wrong now. I need to go back and standardize the fonts. It's gonna be a thing. Some weekend. It's raining. So there's a house out of or a brokerage. Ooh, I like that.
Yeah, I was gonna suggest brokerage, but I wasn't sure. Like, it didn't sound good in my head, but it sounds good when you say it.
Kind of like it. The brokerage and well, I mean the main bad guys. No, that's a spoiler. Sorry, Ed. The main bad guys in the table game are the barristers of Nacragus. They're named after lawyers. So I think
Barrister is a
brokerage.
great term.
It's pretty fun. So we'll have 4 brokerages. And they just brokerage. They deal with commodities.
Yeah.
Uh, uh brokerage house. 4 brokerage houses. Sebra Fair, Chase, Cliff Chasen, Elixruff, Orf.
Yeah, and my thoughts are like, not only do they have conflict with each other because they operate, even though they have sort of like there's these 4 cities, like you said, it's more interesting if they operate everywhere.
Yeah.
So if they're operating in multiple places, there's going to be constant turf battles for like, you know, we want this shipping contract, we want this, this ownership of this part of the docks. But even like we want sanctions from this government, or not sanctions, like we want
Uh,
like
like
contracts
reduced
or criminal.
tariffs we want. Uh,
Yeah.
um, we could, and nothing better than the opening of Star Wars 1 where the first line is about trade disputes, but
That's the background. That's the
it's
background. It's
totally
not the
all this
story.
stuff simmering in the background
That's
is
it. Yeah.
is there. Um,
Basically, it's an excuse for my character to be sent to kill people.
right.
And so once we have that settled, then we've got what we want.
Now, what I love is geopolitical shit. So I'm wondering how you would feel if these 4 city-states had some sort of mercantile league that bound them together.
I'm 100% in favor of that. So
Okay.
I'm down with that. And it'd be also cool if it's like on the surface or like officially that's the case. And then under the surface, there's all kinds of like agents backstabbing each other across,
Yes,
trying to like, vie for
absolutely.
control.
Absolutely. Treaty. Or I'm thinking about the Hanseatic League, German history before Germany became Germany.
Okay.
All the Hanseatic League was a group of merchants who banded together to increase their purchasing, shipping, and whatever power. And so basically these 4 cities, well, I would think of it more almost like OPEC. These 4 cities control shipping in the Swanwick Sea.
Yeah.
Okay. It's control
Well,
trade.
that's important because like most of the other than that, like if you're trying to ship from I can't see the whole map. If you're trying to ship from
I'll
Dona,
I'll zone out. Zoom out.
So if you're trying to ship from like the Donacan Empire, and you're trying to reach around that peninsula, like the most obvious, safest, cheapest route is going to go through the sea. Otherwise, you're going all the way through these like, you know, this overland travel forever.
And
So
that overland travel between Cliff Chasen and if you want to get to Blankyard, which is a major city, that way you're going through barbarian wastes. The Donakam Empire doesn't really start till I can't. You know what's interesting about this is it doesn't have just like a pencil. You can't just like draw on it.
Really
Yeah, I
interesting.
I can do a path here, but then it's like
It's okay.
kind of a pain in the butt to.
I can see your marker. I mean your cursor.
So this sort of thing here is really the
Mhm.
Donakam Empire. So anything outside of it is.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna that though because
Yeah.
to be there.
Don't
Okay,
forget.
so let's get back. I got a couple more things we got to get to. Like we've got this, and we've established sort of your world is this violent world, cutthroat world of basically capitalism.
Unfettered capitalism too.
Unfettered capitalism. Yeah, because the cities are ruled by
By the merchants.
by the brokerage houses.
Yeah.
So
Now, I think what would be interesting is if the city, and you say yes or no on this.
yeah,
I
yeah.
think it'd be interesting is if the cities were ruled in name by a council or some other kind of like propped up
Puppet government.
puppet group that effectively is put in place by the merchants, and maybe a merchant's on the council or whatever, so that there's like some semblance of now, it also could be interesting if Ixelruff or Ilixruff is like, no, fuck it, it's merchants. Like, you want to be powerful, get rich. You have to buy a seat on the council. Maybe that's the way they work. But it could be interesting if there's like some sort of like maybe some of the other city states there is like a fake government.
Okay. And I think I will hold that back and create as needed.
Okay.
Like if we get to that, like let's say Severfer is ruled by like a vizier who is appointed by the brokerages. But it turns out the vizier is actually the most powerful of the brokerage house people.
Right.
But nobody knows that. That could be something that could become in game time, and I would build it as we are. You guys, we're heading to Severfer, and I'll be like,
Nice. Yeah, I love that. Yeah, and that's cool. That's a cool flavor because it gets that kind of like that Medici kind of thing
yeah,
going where they had like the Pope was a Medici and like or whatever, all that
yes,
kind of stuff.
all kinds of fun stuff that we can do with that. But we don't need to necessarily
Right. Yeah.
build tonight per se. Although, you know, I like it, but we don't need to all in one go. Uh, it'll never get done. So
Yeah, just build as you need it. That's all.
that's what I do. But I also wanted to build what was needed for your character. So that's why
Right.
we do this. So we've got that set up. So then now we come to we're starting our game off in Crimson Witch. I'm going to switch maps here now because I have zoomed too far in.
I see it.
Menu.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
Buxleydale. Save all my changes.
Boy, that'd be sad.
All right. So we are starting. Let's see. I got to see what you see. Good.
That map looks really good too. Like when you're like the zoomed in, obviously it wasn't quite as nice, but
Yeah, this is this that lets you do this thing called detail map, and like I can actually copy and paste this into the corners of the big map, and then like put a little thing on there that says "See Breakout" for the province of Buxleydale. It's
that's fantastic.
it's crazy. But what it really does for me is it keeps all of the land curvature the same when I cut it out and then tell it to blow it up this big. Then I can say, all right, here's what's happening, because each of these squares, each of these hexes is 100 miles.
Mm-hmm.
So
That's pretty cool.
yeah, that way I can at least get a good idea of how it fits on the larger map. So All right, so we are starting in Crimson Witch. I think I confused the shit out of Chris Jones last week because I was saying, well, I think it's this, but I don't know, and I was
Mm-hmm.
I was confusing the story that I wanted to use with Ashen Vein, which is where we started the table game with Crimson Witch. Ashen Vein just found a new ore and everybody's moving there.
Cool.
Crimson Witch discovered something creepy at the bottom of the loch, and there are knowledgeable people influxing to Crimson Witch, and people are starting. The thing was already starting to build up as a larger town because it was a lumber town, which is
Mm-hmm.
why Percy's Bard has gone there to make some cash. And I know that and Tony's druid has just wandered out from the Quillfield Wastes and is finally come around the east side of the loch and is just entering Crimson Witch after being on his vision quest for many years. And uh, Chris's character arrived a little while ago and is looking for signs of his grandfather, who he believes to still be alive and who can tell him about his family history. Uh, but he's just planning to pass through. Uh, so, why would your character be in this backwater?
Cool. So, couple possibilities, and however angle we take is good. So, the basic idea for my character, he was burned, right? He was
Yep.
basically like, "You're dead," and that basically, what that really means is he needed to get the hell out of that whole like conglomerate area, right? Like it was
Okay.
time to go. And so I really had this idea of him kind of being like opposed to their group and like trying to do things to kind of like undermine them. And I think that's probably still fair. That's his attitude, but we're level 1, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this is probably the time of his life where he's been like, "You're out," and he has escaped. And so what I'm thinking probably makes the most sense is he has a friendly up in the kind of like ranks, like maybe his handler. It was like, "Hey man, you're about to get burned. Here's what we're
Okay.
gonna do. We're gonna stage it like this other guy who's already dead. We're gonna like he's gonna fill in for you, and you're gonna get the hell out, and you're never gonna show up here again. I'm never gonna see your face, hear from you, get a message from you. You're gone, right?"
Okay.
And so, where else to go than the other side of the continent, right?
All right.
And so he's out of here. And so my thoughts are he's level 1. He is broke. He's got a chip on his shoulder because he wanted to make a name for himself and he failed in his perspective. But also he has skills. He's a talented fighter, and he's a monk. So I'm not going to play him like monk like
Play him.
you
Play
know.
him like maybe more like I'm thinking of like this is maybe a lame ass reference, so don't hate me. Uh, Elliot from Leverage.
I have not seen Leverage.
Okay.
I thought you were going to make a Naruto reference, so we're good.
No. No. No.
I'll look it up. I actually know Leverage. I know the concept, but I haven't seen the show, so I'm
He's
not
the
sure.
he's the hitter. They're a team of
Okay.
people who con people on
Right.
behalf of the downtrodden, and
Right.
he's sort of got like a he's got a barroom brawl, but he by way of jujitsu, judo, and a
Mm-hmm.
billion of other things, and he just beats the shit out of people.
That's kind of the thought. So I'm gonna
Okay.
definitely bring a knife, I'm gonna actually use a knife, not a
Yep.
short sword.
Okay.
And when it scales up, I'll be happy. But whatever.
Yeah.
Be a D4 dagger, but I'm gonna but then yeah, it's gonna be like it's barroom brawl. Now it's gonna be a little bit more elegant style because I'm gonna play him as like weaker strength con because he grew up sick. Maybe the sickness that
His
killed his
mom killed
mom,
his mom. Yeah.
yeah, kind of also gave him a little bit of like a an asthmatic kind of situation, rheumatoid issue. But he's very dexterous, and so it'll be a lot of like that judo type stuff, but then
Right.
the dagger. So yeah, but anyways, that's kind of his situation. So he's like fled, he's out, and he is stewing a little, but I don't want to play him as dark and moody. I wanted to play him as kind of like slightly like upbeat and charismatic and maybe a little young and sarcastic.
Okay.
Because I don't want to like bring down the mood. But like the concept is just sort of like, what do I do now? Well, I got to make some money. All thing I've ever done to make money is either steal or basically use my abilities and get paid for them.
Okay.
So his thought process is naturally towards, I'm either going to steal from people or I'm going to be a mercenary. So
Perfect.
and
So
maybe he's in Crimson Witch just strictly because that was where as far as his money would take him, and now he's there and he's like, all right.
perfect. Now that would so did you go overland, do you think?
I think so because, well, let me think.
Well,
What would be
cuz
Overland like?
cuz hard. But
Mm,
here's
okay.
the other thought though is because if you go to Blankyard, I have just this minute, not just this minute, but during our conversation, have decided all 4 brokerages have houses in Blankyard.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
So Blankyard is going to be a major seaport, and all 4 houses are represented.
So why don't we do that then to kind of like throw an extra, like, roll back some stuff.
Okay.
Let's say that's where he was when the burn came in.
Oh, okay. He'd been
And
sent to
so
Blankyard on a job.
he was in the blanket on a job. It went wrong, and basically he got the note from his friend like, hey, if you come back to Illichruff, you're dead.
Nice.
So I'm gonna stage it so someone else is gonna die for you. You need to run. Take whatever you got and get out of there. And so he doesn't really have much, and he basically just like slips into a barge and drops off in Crimson Witch, and he's laying low,
Okay.
hoping that no one sees him, knows him. And the idea is to get enough money to like get the hell out.
Felix Ruff.
And Illichruff is the place where he's going to be killed. So like his friend's going to do enough to kind of like, hey, you've been covered, but if your face shows up where someone knows you, you're in trouble. And I'm in trouble too.
Okay. So never show up in Illichruff.
Yeah, and if you do, you better have a disguise self spell or something.
Fun.
So,
All right.
and
So
even Blank Yard would be careful as you go
I'm gonna say
if they operate.
there's Blankyard is going to be a place where all 4 houses is time, I think. Well, I'll do this later, but I'm gonna
Okay.
add in. There's another say go back to in Ethistria, in Ethistra. Said all of these things out.
Mm-hmm.
One, I have a port that has some of the cartels be here. I have to start building up Ethistra.
Right.
Reason being is one of the background things I want to be having in here is that war is about to start between the.
Oh, okay.
So I'm just gonna leave that. I don't want that actually in this morning. So that will be a major port. I'm also going to say, I know Percy's listening, or at least he was earlier. Might be fun if there's a brokerage house or two that operates out of Adenac, which is underwater.
Oh.
Uh, so maybe there's a presence. Maybe they don't have full, but they're starting to worm into the Adenac, because that's a merchant city as well. But
Cool.
it's populated by um, there are no Genasi, they're Manjin. It's the same thing. It's just a reskin. But
Perfect.
water Manjin, who are hiding from the elementals that watch over them, and Tritons and other sea folk all live in Adenac.
Cool.
And yeah, Percy's got a whole thing created for it, but I think it'd be fun if there was like this emissaries there. Or
Yeah, I like the idea too of like, hey, there's these brokerage houses that have kind of like done their thing, but like there's other form across the world, there's other forms of like operating an economy
Sure.
and operating trade, and they're trying to kind of like get their fingers in,
Right.
but doesn't necessarily mean that they're successful. You know,
Well,
and maybe there's other groups.
this is so fun for me for backstory. It'll probably never ever come up, but Robin's character is from Aspen Vale, and
Oh, right. And she's
they
like a sheep herder or
a
something, right?
sheep herder, and they have no economy, but they decided they needed to make a deal with Centasset down in Irvocale in order, and so her whole story is she's a prince to be married to one of the leading merchants' daughters of Centasset in order to solidify a trade deal, and I'm gonna say it's because they got frozen out by these four,
Mm-hmm.
uh,
There's a
who
lot
are
of
trying to
merchants. That's interesting.
put the squeeze on them. So that'll be fun.
A
If
little
it, if
world theming.
yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'll just bury it in the back of my head. It may never even be important. Um, but okay. I think all right. So we've got your character. The just last question I had is the background criminal or spy or
Yeah,
um,
so I was looking at criminal because I want to take one that has a stealth, component.
sure,
Because I think stealth's an important characteristic. Oh, well, that's silly. I could just pick stealth. Never mind.
yeah,
But regardless, though, I was looking at criminal or spy. I think criminal probably does make the most sense because I know spy is just criminal reskin, but like
yeah,
I think thematically makes the most sense because even though from his perspective and from even like the group's perspective, they don't think they're criminals. If anything, they like set the laws in their mind. The behavior we would associate with like, oh, you're sneaking in and murdering people, you're a criminal, right?
right,
So I think criminal fits.
okay. Um, so we've got a bit of background from where you come from, where your morals and social mores come from. We know why you're in Crimson Witch. We've created an entire merchant league system. Uh,
Merchant League, I like that.
uh, and even a little bit of how the rest of the world communicates has actually been established. So there's a lot happened in this episode of Building Navyshla.
Mm-hmm.
So as we go forward, one of the things I learned from doing this with the table game is it's starting to get an idea of where we kick off from. And so we're gonna do Ed's, I think next week. No, because we'll be in um, the at GameholeCon.
Mm-hmm.
So the week after we will do Ed's, and then we'll be scheduling our first game right after that, like to
Oh, that's exciting.
whenever we want to play. And so uh, the players should be ready for a wet and mucky and swampy type adventure for cash. Cash will be promised. Cash on the name. Uh, and
That's good.
there will be an archaeologist looking to hire you. Uh, so, but we'll start off with something else that throws you all into the mess right away. I love throwing stuff right out of the gate. So,
Cool.
but
Yeah, and on my part too, like, one thing I didn't touch on the backstory or
yeah.
characterization, but I do want my character to be like kind of religious.
Oh,
So he's going to not the dragon gods
no,
though,
no,
kind of
that
religious in
sort of
the
the ancestor
humanism
worship.
thing. Yeah, and so I haven't decided what they'll be yet, but I'm gonna give them like I kind of like the idea of like the Catholic saints where you're just sort of like calling out for some random person to that came across really
Now, I get what
negative.
you're saying, but not
Calling
random.
out for
But
some other, not random, but
yeah,
calling out for like help for like, hey, Saint Michael, bless this. Hey, Saint Mary, bless this. And so I think it's going to be a little bit of that. I've always been appealed to like almost like people being sort of deified some.
yeah.
So I'm going to play with that a little bit. I haven't come up with any of them other than just I'm going to create like a list of like 7 or 8 that I'll just refer to. So
Oh,
they won't have any impact on anything, but just for flavor.
fantasy name generator is my favorite thing to do. We've done this in every game or every Building Navyshla, and it's where we have come up with the best NPC name to date, Arcus Tud.
That's fantastic.
So let's find one of your human ancestral names. Shall we use from their list of many different names we can come up with, I'm just gonna pick this. Let's see, a ghost name or a killer's name, a
Let's do a
Pegasus's
ghost
name.
name.
Ghost
Let's see what a
name.
ghost comes out.
All right, here we go. All
And
right.
off the name, I'll theme the role this person has.
Hold on, I'm gonna put this. I'm gonna make screen. Uh. Okay. So the Crypt Protector. I don't know if this is the right. I don't think this is the right type
so
of.
the Crypt Protector is he was known for building things.
Yeah.
Actually, I kind of like Han, Haun.
Okay. We'll keep that one.
And we'll say it's Han the Wise. And so
On.
Han the Wise is he was a priest that resolved uh, a major family like disagreement when the city was a little smaller and their families were kind of more the issue. He resolved a major family feud. And so Han the Wise is revered as sort of like one of the one of the people who's responsible for the success of Illichrough, like coming together and becoming what it was, because he taught these families that they should cooperate as opposed to vie for control. And so Han the Wise is someone that you talk to as an inspiration for any time you have to make a difficult decision or you're trying to calm a situation that's gotten out of control.
All right.
So that'll be his first ancestor.
Nice. Perfect. Love it. I referred to Han the Wise as an ancestral patron, but I shouldn't use patron because that's loaded in 5e.
That is true.
So
Patron's such a good word too. I
Um,
was trying to I want to say like saint, but that's sort of too tied to like religion and everything. It means too much. And then I was thinking it specifically means like you've gone to heaven, right?
right.
And so I was thinking of like something like ancestor is nice, but it's like not quite the right term because it's not
Right.
really your ancestor. There's not really a lot of family lineage in the city. So it was like hero, like I'm grasping for a term
Yeah,
for it.
yeah.
Patron's really nice though. I'm just gonna put that there for placeholder and I'll like riff on it.
Thesaurus
Thesaurus.com. It's my
patron.
favorite. It's gotta be something.
Sponsor, backer, financier, subsidizer, underwriter, guarantor.
Guarantor, that's it.
I oh,
like
part of me likes this. It's wrong and it's not going to work. But I like client. The clients because of the mercantile.
Yeah.
But they're not. They're the supplier. They're the.
Yeah, it's the opposite. Oh man.
The source for supplier.
Yeah, there you go.
Distributor, provisioner. Ooh.
Provisioner's interesting.
The provisioners.
I like it. We're doing it. It's close. Provisioners. It's sort of like they provision.
Provider, provisioner, right? Purveyor.
Kind of, even though provisioner is super weird, like I'm kind of.
I like it. I like it too. I like it the way I like barrister.
Yeah.
Provisioner. That's fun. All right.
And I think you say it enough times, it starts to feel almost like its own thing, like the provisioners.
Yeah.
Provisioners. Provisioner Han, like.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Everybody's goal is
That's
to someday be a provisioner.
Yeah, I want to make a name for myself and be a provisioner.
Yeah.
Or like
down in history.
Okay, cool.
Who was a chump.
That's neat.
All right.
He was a client. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, he went down. He had too many Negronis.
That's right. Cool. That was nice. Thanks, Paul. Appreciate you indulging me.
Oh, that's fun. And now I have made the Negroni cocktail recipe. What goes up on the screen? All right. There we go.
I will say one thing you mentioned, and just as a note of the coffee Negroni, if you do make it, it's 1-to-1 with the gin and Campari. But I realized when you were saying it that you cut the vermouth a little bit to support the coffee liqueur. So
I was going to say.
Only, it's like 1/3 for the vermouth.
That would be important because I think I think that sweet vermouth mess with that coffee pretty
Yeah, and that now as you said, I was like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense because it was definitely not. That would be way too strong with the vermouth in there. Cool.
All right. I think we have built what we're gonna build tonight. So thanks, Winston, for
Yeah, thanks, Paul.
coming in and bringing all that to the table. This is lots got covered on the map. Always makes me happy. So we'll like I said, one more to go. Ed went first on the table game one, so he's going last on the online game one. And after
Cool.
that, we'll schedule our first game. These will be streamed here on Roleplay Give. We're planning to play them monthly. They will not have a set schedule because I don't care. Um, and that's, they'll go up when they go up. So we'll schedule them and we'll play them when we play them. So, but keep your eyes open for them. We'll alert people when they're going to come in advance. And yeah, I'm excited to get started. So, all right. Well, thanks everybody, and until next time, roll some dice, play some games, give some time and treasure to meaningful causes. Good night, everybody.